Good evening. You're listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I am your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Pinos Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. I'm in the Extreme Studios with RDV from the Great Midwest. Joining me tonight to discuss Transporter 2, the 2005 Jason Statham sequel. And RDV, I just got home in a fury. I was sending out some tweets because the Washington Redskins are trying to, glaze us on these new team colors and mascots, and it's in a big rub in the face. And in the middle of all that, I see Scott Adkins. Yes, that's Scott Adkins, Killa of all people, tweeting about how one of the scariest shows of all time, the original Salem Slaughter, the TV movie that you and I have reviewed here, as well as the movie from a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone talked about how scary it was, and now it's still the best. And while you and I watched the last one, it had an incredible soundtrack and was visually quite stunning. The soundtrack still, to me, is one of the best I've heard in years. It made me think, okay, when we talk about sequels and revisionings over the years, I actually don't mind when artists do that. So for the Transporter 2, it was a movie we love. We love action films. We love as little CGI as possible. Again, it's directed action-wise with Corey Yuen. It has, this movie, a lot of things in it that we like. We have a character that we now know a little bit. Does he really follow the rules as much? I don't know. We have they left those original rules, which I thought could have been interesting. They kept them, but they had rules.
So
they did everything you're supposed to do in a sequel. This is a tremendous one. A lot of fun rewatching it. They went God's on a few spots, and it works. What's your take on it?
Well, Corey Yuen was not listed that I saw for the second movie. Only for the first one.
I thought I saw him.
Maybe he was in the full cast credits. I did not see him on Wikipedia mentioned.
Gotcha.
Like he was in the first movie, but this one also does feature. It's a mixture of Hong Kong cinema with a little bit of Hollywood 90s.
Yes.
Yeah, which really balance out, and that's what really does well for this movies. The first one, we get the oil slick scene here. We get another garage scene fight here, a boat fight. A lot of cool stuff. Scene. Yeah, it's the hallway scene and I gotta say, out of all the fights in here, the best one for me is the fire hose fight scene.
It's a good one.
Where he's using the swinging around like a rope and hitting people with it, and then he turns it on at the end. They're all stuck; they can't get out because he turned the pressure on, so they're wrapped up in there. And that's actually dangerous too, because it can crush you if you're wrapped up in it.
I think we talked a lot about Corey Yuen and some creativity about stuff. Was when we reviewed a few years ago. She Shoots Straights.
Yes,
we had gone through a bunch of Hong Kong cinema and some others here on Extreme Movie Show, and I would encourage anybody listening to go check those out too. But there's something about, depending on the actor or the stunt choreographer and what they're aiming for, with the practical effects, knowing you're going to get a creative fight, you're going to get an enclosed fight, or like to me, one fight that I'd forgotten about that I thought was very creative was what I call the mismatch size fight, where Jason Statham's athletic build's not overpowering physique necessarily say, but they put him inside a boat, and he uses the boat and the size, how small it is on the inside, the advantage when he's got the gargantuan guy in there.
In close court combats.
Yes. So we see these kinds of things here too, right? I mean, and I should blame this movie for the really shitty driving kind of stuff that we would come to loathe in all the Fast and the Furious movies, like jumping from one to another. But in here, some of it still works for me.
I love that you brought it up, because Fast and Furious was definitely, when you look up this movie, it is very recommended, like all the Fast and Furious movies. And Fast and Furious, this is basically a toned down shit cookie. It's not even close to this. It's far-fetched. It's dumb. This is still hand-to-hand combat he's got in here too. He's also using stuff, so it's actually a little bit more believable. This is almost like a James Bond.
Yes, where you're gonna have one or two scenes where you're gonna roll your eyes.
Yes, or even we even look at with Tom Cruise and Mission Impossible with so like Ghost Protocol when he's out riding the the sandstorm, in Dubai, and so it's like it's you're gonna get some stuff like that here too. There's a scene where he's basically drives a car, and this he brought Fast and Furious ripped this off, where he drives from one building to the other building and lands in there. And then after this, he ends up basically you see him driving across two buildings right next to each other on the ledge, and the guy looks up, and this is probably the funniest thing in the movie. Is whenever you have, and I love so cliche, whenever you have a guy who's drinking and he sees something, he's like, I'm quitting drinking.
No, that's right out of James Bond.
Yeah.
Or like the pigeon doing his head turn and Moonraker.
We saw this. for those who read early Marvel comic books, there's a thing where somebody comes out of the water and a guy in a dock and he's like drunk. And he's like, this is a good shit. so this guy is in the alleyway and he looks up and he sees a car driving over. And he's like, he looks at the bottle and he puts it down and he's like, I'm done. So they might have saved a life. But overall, the stunts here are really good. In year 2, we even get some a whole new cast. Matthew Modine is probably the big A-list celebrity in here. Or not even say A-list, but now he's more of an A-list because with Stranger Things. But before this, he wasn't really in much. He was in what was it? Vision Quest.
Vision Quest, tremendous.
Yes, Vision Quest, a great movie. And then you see him after that. He was in Sin City, which is right around this time, 2006 or 2000. I think I don't care what it was when the movie came out. But overall, he wasn't really a household name like the other bigger stars. Where Jason Statham was this kind of like, if you know him from from his British movies. Yeah. He was just
if you know, you know.
You start crossing over in American stuff with Transporter, and you had the awesome director Luc Besson here too, or writing with the screenplay. It was just a phenomenal action movie / kind of like a thriller kind of and car chase. And I've always said this: when you have movies like The Driver with Ryan O'Neal is not a very intimidating guy, but you put him behind that car in that movie, and it totally changes. And this is him. We're seeing him where he's shifting. He's driving an Audi. The very opening scene got this girl comes up and they're in Miami, and she's like, "Oh yeah." She's like, "Roll the window." She's like, "Can I help you?" Or "Can you help me?" And he's like, "I'm busy." And she pulls a gun on him. These big old thugs, and they're gonna take him out. And they get in his car and they can't. And we're like, "Okay, why is it starting?" He's like, "Oh, it's code locked." You're like, so they come out there, and he basically starts wiping the floor with them. Because he's using his hand-to-hand combat he learned in the military. Being a British former, who's a Marine, was something like that?
Special Forces.
Yeah.
No doubt default to that.
Yeah. And he takes him out, and then the girl is like, she's like, "Stop." He's like, "Seriously, go back to school." And she's like, "Okay." She puts the gun on, she runs away, and leaving the guys there. But this is like he's been working for a month. He's on Miami now after the first one, and he's working for Matthew Modine, who is head of the DEA in Florida over there. And
apparently, he can't satisfy his wife.
Well, because he spent too much time with his job. And here's the thing: I haven't watched this movie since it came out. I kept thinking, are they kidnapping his son? Because that's after him. His son gets kidnapped, and I'm wondering, is they kidnapping his son because they have dirt on him, because he's dirty? He's been working with them. They've been blackmailed. We see this in Miami Vice. There's always a guy who's basically being framed for something where he's in bed with the wrong cartel things. And now they're like calling it. So I'm thinking like, oh, is this what we're doing with this? But instead, no. Turns out he's just a guy who just, since he got his job, he's overworked, and his wife is very unhappy. It's the point where she is drawn to the natural, younger and better in shape Frank Martin, who is very kind with her son, takes care of him, and the point where she comes over his house drunk and she's ready to bang him, and this is the thing. I was like, this is the most fake thing I've ever seen. He's like, where he says, "Oh, I won't sleep with you."
Was it because of who I am? No, it's because of who I am. I wanted to punch through the screen because I will tell you this. I'm not knocking anybody with family issues and all that, but the thing that I thought was smart about this movie, and I'm going to tie it to something we talked about in Transporter 1, is one, I love the fact that European directors generally, because American cinema seem to have forgotten how to do it, how to celebrate the natural beauty of a woman. And so when you have him pulling up and he's got his, or the first scene you had mentioned there too, where the girl's in that Catholic schoolgirl skirt outfit that's really kind of hot, sexy, and beautiful, but dangerous. That's kind of cool, right? And then when he drives the kid home, and they're on Star Island, I think it is, or not Fisher Island, that's Tampa, but Star Island. So that's mega money, right? And when he sees them arguing, and he pulls around the big loop there with their security, and she comes up, she says something, and it's just believable to me. She goes, "Hey, I want to say thank you." And he's like, "For what?" She's like, for pulling up so my son wouldn't see us arguing. And this is where you get enough of the meat and potatoes, that they'd been separated for a year. They're trying to get back together. He's too busy and all that. But when she's leaning forward in the door there, and she's just emotionally, she needs to make a connection. He's trying not to look her in her eye. Her top isn't down, but the way
No,
she looks
enough.
and all
You can
that,
see a little bit of cleavage, but it's
and
enough, honest.
he listens to her, and you could just see her then, like she's just wet and she's just melted. And I don't mean this in a negative way, like DTF. But just emotionally, she's just, I want you now. Because when she shows up
She
later
wants
and all that,
stability in
it's
her
like,
life. She's,
oh my
and this
God.
guy seems like she could probably do better because this guy's paying attention than what she's wanted from her husband, but her husband is neglecting her because Matthew Modine comes off as a guy he's either too busy with his job or he's gay.
And well, here's the thing: in the late
It's-
'90s, you remember American Pie, right?
Yes.
That celebrated, I think, at that time for a lot
Yeah.
of people, the idea of that one lady being a MILF, right?
Yes.
I get it; it's celebrated, it's a thing.
Laura
But
Coolidge.
this is how it would really go down in the real world, because this woman shows up your door. What did he do? He let her in, and I'm like, I know they were going to.
She starts trying to. She's like, wants it, and he says, like, he's like, can't I have rules? It's like my rules, personal rules, and.
Damn you!
Now,
I wanted to see him sleep with her. It wasn't going to happen. I know that.
Yeah, I know what happened, though. But honestly, if this would have been an American movie, at the very end, she would have basically said, "I'm," because.
You mean like Christmas Jones at the end of The World Is Not Enough?
Well, I'm just saying. At the end of this, though, she instead of getting back with her husband, she would have got with him. She would have showed up him after seeing him in the hospital, leaving.
But here's the thing that in the first movie we talked about with the actions and the different things, but the idea is that he knows what he's doing with his character, so we know that he's mentions to her, she's back to normal, right? She's like, "Oh, can you pick him up, my kid up tomorrow? I'm sorry." He's like, "Well, I got to pick up somebody later," who happens to be the French cop from before, who's the comedy relief. But you know what? I didn't mind it because I knew who his character was. It didn't annoy me.
He also helps out in the plot.
He does a little bit. So this is the thing about Luc Besson. He puts a little sexy into it,
and a little bit of comedy.
And he's not afraid to show even the male physique with he's fighting with some of the stuff that we're going to get into.
Yeah.
So I'm already loving the setup, but it goes god tier to me when we see the evil bad guy doing the Bushido stuff out there with this posse. But the point
Alessandro Gassmann, yes.
Yeah, but you get his lover / AKA female sniper assassin wannabe.
Nauta, who is
absolutely this is how you make a character. You put her in the barest possible lingerie with 5-inch, 6-inch heels with these two guns and all that. And I don't do comic books like you do on the Geeky Puppet Show, but we've talked about some crossover. I thought this was a lot like Blade in that they were able to capture her and frame her in a way that looked very exotic and graphic novelish, and it works in this kind of movie.
It does work. It was kind of campy like Blade with Stephen Dorff being a little bit ambitious, But I also kept thinking, like, as I was watching this, what Miami Vice actor would this have been playing the bad guy? It wouldn't have been Bruce Willis. It would have been, just thinking,
Ted Nugent from season 2?
Maybe.
The Fat Boys? No.
No. This was the guy who was like the big cartel guy and all like stuff.
I tell you who was a big cartel guy. Married with Children. Give me the drug money or die.
Yeah,
Ed O'Neill. He was.
I was thinking more of the guy, the guy in the boat who was blackmailing. Was it Michael Richards?
Yeah. Oh my God, there's so many. If you watch, when we start reviewing Miami Vice here soon, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to get to see all these people in their beginning glory of their acting days.
Alessandro Gassmann is like I want to say it. He's more like Razor Ramon ripoff in this kind of like a
clean cut Razor Ramon.
Yeah. Yes. And he was always talking about his hair. He touched his hair. He's like, he's like, yeah, you, Frick. I got the better suit and the better hair. And so Alessandro Gassmann, if you guys are familiar with him, he's basically known for Transport 2, but he's also been in The Bastards of Pizzo Falcone. He's did a lot of Italian movies, and he dude's like 6'4", so he's actually not. He's kind of imposing.
Good looking dude, fit.
Yeah. Exactly. This is like. They don't want to get Antonio Banderas because that's what everybody does. And like, if you want to have a bad guy, you get certain Eli, whatever his name is from the last when we watched with the Mission Impossible 7 or 8. Mm-hmm. So this is like their equivalent. And I gotta say, like you watch like French movies, the bad guys look so much better. They had more. They were so much swagger. They look like they could be cartel. When was the last time you guys used this channel? I haven't seen it in ages, Austin. Every single freaking week, Tuesdays and Sundays, man.
And possibly Wednesdays and the occasional Friday too, but those are our base days and all that. So depending on what we're reviewing and all that, we experiment with different times and all that. Eastern, of
Sundays
course.
7 p.m. Eastern, and Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, always.
Yeah.
And if you're don't know what the schedule is, when you go on the homepage after you're done, look at I actually had the banner. It shows the schedule. But
yeah. Now here's the thing with the setup of the movie is as far as the sequel part to it. Okay, we know stuff now that has been affirmed in the first movie or affirmed here in the second movie based off the first movie. So we get the opening gambit setup, which we already talked about. One thing they do differently is they have a few crazy stunts, and that's fine. But one thing I really like too, besides going gonzo with the really, she seems really skinny and long and angular, but I bet she's very tall. And if you look at her, she's very ripped.
Talking about the
assassin girl. That's
Kate Nauta. She apparently she's an American fashion model and singer. She actually does two of the songs on this soundtrack for this movie. But,
good on her, and she was very memorable. But they bring a child into the story.
Yes, which is kind of. This is where I'm like, okay, I've seen Man on Fire when we had a kid involved. This is the better version.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, good looking kid, and he was fine in this movie. He wasn't
like no Jerry Maguire kid. It was actually it really helped out. It actually made Jason Statham more of a DILF to a lot of women who were thirsty for him back in the day. He's good with kids, and they're playing all riddle games stuff, and then eventually when they get back there, the mom's like, he's like, yeah, he's like, Mom, we're playing a riddle game. He's like, it's like, okay. He's like, hey, can I ask my mom? He's like, okay. He's like, the mom's like, well, you could bend the rules sometime, and she gives him the answer stuff. But I like this because even though at the end of this movie, when Jason is done with them, the kids still continue the riddle game stuff. So it really helped the kid just learn stuff. He also is trained him to be a young gentleman too. When he gets in the car, whatever rules, hey, if you respect the man's car and he
will respect you.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got his own rules with the kid. That's cute. It's a nice game.
He's got he's got new rules, and I forgot what number 2 is, but the third one is basically it's like I don't make promises I can't keep.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it was a very interesting movie. This is almost like The Nanny without the comedy.
I don't know how you get that. But,
no, I'm talking about that. What was that? The Mr. Nanny. It was the Pat. Or I think I'm like the pacifier or something like that. The Vin Diesel. Whenever you have like the guy working for the chauffeur or whatever, and he takes care and saves a day.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, this was a lot more, much more attuned for adults versus for kids. This is a Disney product. And it was great because you bring in people like models like Amber Valletta, who plays the mom in this. You talk about natural beauty. Well, she was a 1990 early 90s fashion model for Vogue.
Stunning, just absolute gorgeous natural beauty.
She's natural beauty, yes. So they didn't have to bring in anybody and try to like glam them up at all. And here's the thing: she was believable in her role. Mm-hmm. Same with Kate Nauta. Kate Nauta, every time I look at her, I'm like, was it Pink from the 90s? Because it has the come over.
But it's memorable. Yeah, we all see them in lingerie, but the way she's presenting herself, and she's a badass in here. It's like Killa from John Wick 4. I'm pleading with Scott Adkins on mm-hmm. Twitter here. When are we getting this spin-off TV show? Because it's a good character.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing about this character too is that she's almost kind of like a Harley Quinn kind of character. So she loves killing. She just gets off on it stuff. So so when they basically they try to kidnap the kid at the dentist's office, and he ends up basically like creating using the helium tank, the oxygen tank, fires it, creates explosion, and him and the kid crawl to the vent. And I love this. So they crawl away. She's shooting up their office with the Uzis, looking for them. You see this where they push the elevator button. It goes ding, and you see the wave, the vibration of the sound travels through the air ducts, and it goes, and then she hears it. I was like, and so then she runs over, shoots at him, and they're about to get away,
mm-hmm.
And pretty much he gets in his car, and they drives only after they put a device on the bottom of his car, though.
Yep,
it's explosive. He doesn't know about it. Drives home. She shows up. And basically says like, "Hey, we know." She gets in the car. And she's like, "Hey, if you want, survive, whatever, you're gonna bring the kid with us." And that's where we get the awesome like car chase with the Miami cops, Miami's finest, And And
we've talked action sequences, and one of the things I've always said is I love it, like in some of the Hong Kong ones where the backdrop is the city or the
yeah,
skylines, or
yes,
whenever I say
it's just
that
the
they
highways, the
make
bridge going out to Key West, I think it was, or
well, there's some there's one that goes to Key Biscayne, and there's some
yeah,
others, but the thing is I believe they shot the majority of it there, the external stuff out
near
there,
the
because
airport and stuff.
we have
Yeah,
the foot chase, we have the car chase, we have them climbing over stuff. They're in a
the
couple shopping
boat
areas
chase,
too. A boat chase, absolutely, right,
speeding
where he
chase.
flips the
Yeah,
girl
yeah,
behind him and all that. I mean,
yeah.
and you're going to have a lot of the tourist buses in those areas, like he was hopping onto, where he's chasing the one dude. Because the base plots basically is that Matthew Modine's getting so amped up over this meeting with all the DEA people, or DEA, but the drug leaders, the normal ones from Central America are like meeting in Miami for a conference. So what these people did is the cartel said, "Hey, we came up with this gas that we're going to poison his kid with in a shot. So it's only lethal for like 24 hours. So everybody who
But
breathes is going to die. So everyone's going
yeah,
to die there for doing it. That's it. We don't really care."
it's a simple plot thing.
Exactly.
It's like Mission Impossible, same thing.
Right.
Yeah, the nerve
The
gas.
kid gets kidnapped and he has that whiny thing. Frank, you said you'd never let them hurt me. So he's like, I said what I meant, and I'm going, but Keith David's in here. Let's not forget Keith
Yes,
David.
Keith David is the lead investigator and stuff, and then whatever Frank. I love this because Frank. I love his car. His car is like it's basically
It's an Audi, right?
it's an Audi, but here's the thing. It's pretty much like
It's a James Bond Audi.
It's a James Bond, Aston Martin. Like, but if it's Audi, because he has the glove box, he has several different burner phones.
Let me ask you this: Audi or BMW at that time?
I've always liked the Audis; they look sharper to me. And then, especially watching this movie, I was like, dude, a black Audi.
I'm not the car buff that some people are, but back then, the late '90s Beamers were choice to me. But then I think ever since the early 2000s generation, they've become shipmobiles in a way. They've gotten pimped out so bad. Here in Central Florida, all anybody does is they outfit them like an old Honda Civic and make them rice burners.
So here's
I'm serious.
I remember early '90s, the people who drove Beamers were douchebags. There's a Coke.
I won't disagree with you on that.
they're the old guys, or the kids, the young trust fund babies with their polo shirts and all that stuff. They're driving.
But there were some models in the '90s though that for an entry level luxury car, because Jags were still a thing and all that. That was ones that you could sometimes get secondhand work on, and they'd be somewhat reliable. And BMW is not known for that anymore, and that's a shame because. It's one thing to have a beater car like where you're at in the great Midwest with the Salt and all that too. Back in the day, you used to have that. But sports cars and performance luxury stuff has really gone by the wayside. It's a shame because I don't know why they didn't continue with BMW. Obviously, the answer probably correctly is that they just don't want to continue their sponsorship.
Yeah.
And even though he wears suits and dresses up alike, it's not as in-your-face prevalent like as James Bond, where the clothes are a part of it. But I do like it when they're getting ready to beat his ass. So now we know what to expect. There's that humor of like, wait a minute. And he's taking off his jacket. He's like, I just got this from the cleaners, and he sets it down. Stuff like that's really kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, the chasing through Miami, we've said before, and I'll say it again. Foot chases, creative scenes, every action sequence is different. Yes, there's guns in here. Do they rely on them? A decent amount, but there's enough of the hand-to-hand stuff that is really creative and good.
He doesn't use the guns really in here. He just basically knocks the guns out and does hand-to-hand combo, which I respect.
Yes.
Where everything else is basically just shoot and everybody misses. Shoot, everybody misses. I love this. So the guy from the doctor's office, the guy basically beats up, he ends up having his buddy who basically gets picked up, the inspector from France. He gets picked up at Frank's house, and they bring him in, and he calls him on his burner phone, and he's like, hey, it's my mom. I need to take this call. He's like, whatever. And he's like, you can hear Peter. I'm going to send you a photo I have. Because, and he's iPhone. I love that he uses like the little iPod thing. Basically to get the photo off
20 years ago technology. Jesus, yeah.
I know, right? And so they looks it up, and he finds where this guy is. Location. He's a Russian gangster, whatever, and a scientist slash. So he tracks him out of the warehouse or his apartment. And the guy's getting ready to bail, and I love this. So as Frank's coming in, the guy sees him. He gets shooting him, and I love how Frank just keeps like RoboCop walking towards him. He ducks, dodges, and just keeps walking. And he's got the head forward, and he's got the glare. And and if I did, I'm just like, fuck, I'm surrendering, bro. Don't kill me, So, and it's there. We get the foot chase, we get the ski-doo, and all this stuff, and eventually, he catches them, and he injects them in the leg with what the guy believes is the nerve gas, whatever, basically, or lethal drug, which
Virus.
Yeah, which you learn after he follows him, because the guy thinks, oh shit, he's like, he stabbed me with that. He actually stabbed him with water.
He's using him as bait so he can lead him to the other people where the antidote is.
I love this. Exactly. So yeah. So the guy hobbles up and then he gets him, and they go, and he finds where they're working on this warehouse. They're working stuff, and the guy is the scientist. He's like, you idiot! It takes 4 hours, and you're dead. He's like, well, give me the antidote. So he shoots the one guy. He's like, now there's only 2 antidotes left.
Because there's 3 of them. There's only 2 antidotes. He's like, okay, one for you, one for me.
Yeah. So then Frank comes in and basically, says like, he's like, dude, I just stabbed you with water. You're not gonna die. And he's like, what? And then he ends up just like basically taking him out, And the doctor's like, well, hey, there's enough for 2 of us. And he tries to run away and throws the scalpel, hits him in the leg. There's some cool stuff like that. A lot of close quarter combat fights. This was just this. If you watch watching Jackie Chan or Cynthia Khan, or kind of like those Hong Kong movies, action movies in the 80s.
Shishu Straits has the one Asian actress that was like a bodybuilder. Now I remember because the photo at the time I put up hers doing the double bicep back shot. And that was when we started talking about how one of the directors would always have like a hallway fight scene. Mm-hmm. And we always talked about with Jackie Chan, he'd always have a parkour and a tumbling and sometimes a foot
always a garage scene, a warehouse scene where he's trying to dodge things. People are hitting him, missing, and he's holding stuff up, and just basically like a ballet where he's trying not to get killed, and he's doing whatever he can. Yes. And I said, these movies, I would love to see kind of like having a blooper reel, kind of do with Jackie Chan, where people are actually getting hurt, because some of this stuff, it's like he's throwing paint buckets, but he's using like the fire hose to grab it, throw it, whip it stuff. Like, I want to see like how much this was actually CGI assisted, because it didn't look like it at all.
I think some of the car stuff is, because it looks really bad.
Sure.
Yeah.
But a lot of the open stuff, like that you see on the freeway, where he ends up where Ridgely was chasing the bad guy, in the plane later on, the helicopter. And I love this. He's in the guy's Lamborghini. This is an Italian model that was only made from 2001 to 2007, and he's like, of course, we're at Miami. We got a car chase down here. And all the police are chasing this stolen red truck, and then here he comes past him. He's like, holy crap! He just guns past all of them, because supercars are holy. When you go 200 plus, yeah, cops have no hope. And I kept thinking this is kind of like Miami Vice, though, with the Ferrari. Whenever I see anybody,
and you see so much of Miami, and thankfully. Yes. Again, one of my pet peeves is that because of CGI, people go, it's expensive, so we have to maximize our budget for these shots, and they have thousands of them, whatever, even if it's a color addition or saturation or something. And what they do is they say, well, to circumvent the expense of it, and they're cheaping it out rather than being artistic. They do well. Drones are cool because they're cheap, right? But they'll do a lot of the CGI shots at night. And I've mentioned this before with Godzilla and Kong and all that. I don't want to see a fucking battle. It's 2 a.m. in the goddamn evening. No, I want it during the day.
Kind of like what the Rip was a little bit, though. The Rip was filmed towards the night. It wasn't much CG, though. But yeah, but I will say the drone stuff has really popped up. You see that in The Rookie. We saw that in Tulsa King. We see it in and especially every time we see it in Landman, the shot of Fort Worth and stuff, or where they're at, Texas. So you're always seeing that and stuff. Drones are great because you don't have to get somebody in a helicopter to shoot an overhead view.
And expensive too. You can have your second team do it, which is how a lot of things go. They might say, "Okay, we're going to film for these couple weeks the action sequences."
I hate drones. It's just that, it's. I don't necessarily hate the use of drones. It's just that it feels like it's excessive at this point. Where a lot of
because it's a new toy, right? So everybody's got to get their shit in, right?
Like, the NFL has drones now too, and it's just like, okay, guys, calm down with the drones before they start attacking us. Someone hacks them.
Well, one of the things here I thought was kind of creative, and then we'll talk about your favorite scene, which is the fire hose one, which you're right is phenomenal. One of the scenes I like is that, again, we get slightly different scenes, and I'm not saying you have to have your best scene be your last scene where they keep building up, but one of the scenes I really liked in here after the foot chase, I think, was the scene where you have this one guy, and I assume he's from Africa, but I want to say maybe East Coast or something, because he's naturally big. He's a really huge dude.
That's the boogeyman. Was in this.
Yeah, and so He's probably 6'3", 6'4", and really a wide body and all that too. Not quite Samoan, but he's got that. He's a massive physique guy.
It's the same as whenever you have like the tall Russian guy, and like we saw this with the I think it was James Bond does this too. We always have a guy.
Do that occasion with a big Rusky, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's fighting with this guy, and this guy's so big. So what do you do when you have a guy that relative to you is smaller? You throw him around. So the guy F5s him like across into the boat, and they end up in the boat.
Right.
But it's what happens, right? It's wire assisted, of course. But he actually like sees different things, and he's trying to figure out how to defeat him. And he sticks his hands into, I swear to God, and this is where I had somebody tell me when I saw the movie that it was racist, because he sticks his two hands, it looks like in watermelons, and then he pops the guy with them in the face. And he's African American. I'm like, it isn't to me, but the point is, he can be creative with the environment he was in.
And here's the thing, though, is these guys, it's nothing racist. People eat watermelon. This is not just saying that they're great. So we can never have a black guy eating a watermelon or any type of fruit because someone might think it's racist. Okay, then we can never have people in France eating donuts or Americans, eating Krispy Kreme stuff because that's racist. But it is interesting because this
might happen because I just didn't remember this guy at
all.
This
is kind of like a Jackie Chan thing, though. Yeah, he sticks his hand in the melons and he breaks and he hits a guy, and then one misses and hits the car lift and it breaks open. So I said he eventually gets thrown up onto the boat thing, so he climbs up, and the guy's in there.
The boat is suspended because it's inside, right?
Yeah, they're working on it. Yes.
And he rotates and gets his head crushed.
Yeah. So he's inside there. He jumps through the porthole to get down to the cabin in there. The guy comes down, he hits him in the leg, and then he basically starts beating him up, and he hits him in the groin. And then the boat started to rock. He's like, oh shit! So he runs up, and he makes sure that the guy's head goes through the porthole window, and then he gets out, and it falls over, and it falls onto the other boat down there, the car, and just his head's gone. Well, we don't see it flying off. We can imagine it's probably smushed, if not broken.
And when you see Frank Martin, the name of the guy, he ends up sneaking back in the house because everyone's looking for him and all that too. And he talks to the wife and lets her know that everything is kind of okay. But the thing is the guy's her husband's at the conference, and we can tell already she's been affected, and the husband's going to be as well. But he
thinks that he's because he fucked up. He thinks that of course he saw the way that she was looking at Frank. He thinks that she's already cheated on him. With Frank, with Frank.
I will give Matthew Modine credit for this because he's done some different things. And he was a name, but he wasn't like the heavy A-lister.
No.
He's a good actor. The thing that really sold me on him being kind of a dick here and hardcore, because he's not a physically imposing looking dude. He's a bit nerdy, dweebish looking. And I don't mean that in a negative way.
He was younger than this one, but
he's yelling at her like, I want to continue our conversation because he sees her looking at her and all that. After he says it, in South Florida, it's probably espresso. If it's in Italy, it's cappuccino. But the point is, and I know they're different, ladies and gentlemen, but he's sipping this little cup of coffee so passionately. And I'm like, you are an asshole. You're a bit of a D-bag, bro. He sold me on it. He's a good actor.
He is. It's when you see him in a little bit of a watch of the Netflix show Stranger Things. He comes off as a dick on that show too. A guy you can't really trust. He's on learning the experiment. He's good at those roles. But
let's talk about your favorite fight there, the fire hose fight.
So the first fight we have, it leads into this, is basically the guys all attack. They all have like axes in the garage. They have all this different weapons, and he ends up pretty much blocking it. Now, I kept watching this again after watching shows like Arrow and all this Flash. It's like I'm like, and we all come right now. Stop.
Ninja style is how
we wait one at a time. That's the other thing I hate, when you could tell that they're waiting one at a time. This they weren't doing. They actually started they were actually going pretty fast instead of going slow.
This is what America television action cinema, in my opinion, and movies cannot do correctly. And I get that there's few people like Jason Statham, who's an Olympic level athlete from diving and is naturally very tuned in his body, does a lot of these body weight movements and stuff. But I so appreciate what he's able to do with his look and all that, and that we get this. And whether this is an American movie or not, technically, because I think of Luc Besson, I go, it's not American. We don't get this in our films anymore, and it's a shame because we used to get it all the time. I was so spoiled in the 80s.
This was a European movie that was later distributed into America. First, it was in France, so technically it's a French film.
Yep.
And then to 20th Century Fox basically distributed everywhere else. So it was already a month before in August 2005, and then by September 2005, United States. So that's probably why it's such a better movie than what was coming out in America, because it wasn't made in America. It wasn't held to Hollywood standards where they have all these different. Well, we can't do this because that's too dangerous. Insurances will cover us for this. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And and just like so, and of course, America would never go for the whole the bad guy's girlfriend Harley Quinn thing, running around in a bra and panties with a garter belt and stuff, and then just shooting up the place. It was
a fucking movie. Have some fun, for God's sakes.
And that's what it was. She's a crazy girl. She gets off and kill people. She also likes. She's attracted to Jason Statham's character too. It's in the car. After he basically like wets her panties by like does all the car stunt stuff. She's like, in another life, be you and I, Bonnie and Clyde, baby. And she licks his like face, stuff.
Her licking his face is the scene of the movie, and it sold me on her crazy ass character because I found it highly erotic.
It was highly erotic, and that's like Luc Besson.
You agree with me?
Erotic in this stuff.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's like, well, this movie could be considered sexist, toxic. You can't do this, blah blah blah. I'm like, what? So you don't like strong women who are basically portrayed as being evil? And it's like, okay. And I said, like, it says overall, the fighting was good. The choreography was good here too. It's just as good as the first one. Now the first one I do like because more creative, because he has the oil slick and he's sliding around. You get a little oil slick in there too. That's how he gets the bad guy. He rubs his arm on the table with grease, and the guy goes to grab him and he pulls, and he can't get a hold of him. So he uses that to his advantage. They get off the table. But overall, this is like a little bit of mix, like a Donnie Yen kind of fighting scenes, with basically anything you can get your hands on, use it as a weapon to defend yourself, like a woman. Like, I'm gonna throw a lamp at you.
Right. Make use of your immediate environment. 100%.
Yes. This is like Streets of Rage, man. A guy drops a knife, I'm picking it up, using it, and he does it in here too. A guy in the beginning, the guy holds a knife on him, and he quickly disarms him and he uses the knife, and the guy freaks out. He's like, holy crap. But overall, it said you get a car chase in here, about two of them at least. You get two huge fight scenes in here too, and you get a basically James Bond or Mission Impossible thing where you're driving a car and the bad guys in the plane going to take off. It's usually Miami Vice, is where they can't catch him, and he's like, "See you later, bitches." And he flies away. Happened twice so far in the first two seasons, but instead he uses a supercar, and he gets it up there and in the Lamborghini, and he grabs on the front landing wheel and hangs onto it. The Lamborghini flies into the Welcome to Miami sign over, blows up at the airport. And the guy's like,
welcome to signs when you're shooting.
Like this whole action scene at the end here, though, he's got the pilot's like, we might have to turn around. Our landing gear is not working. He's like, obviously the bad guy heard the explosion, and at this point, he ensured himself that he wouldn't die. When we kill him, he basically did a blood transfusion, but putting the cure into his body, and so that allowed him to be escape. And basically, you had to have Frank versus the psycho chick. He ends up kicking her and throwing into basically a bunch of spikes. For those who watch Three Musketeers, the Disney one, Charlie Sheen stuff, the bad guy ends up being in the spike bed on the wall. Same thing with her. She gets kicked back and she's laying there, and she's basically spikes coming through her stuff. But so he's on the plane now. The guy is like, well, I'm going to try and manually crank it up. And Frank's like, hello, snaps his neck. And I'm like, what if that was an innocent airline guy? He might have been a goon. It's like, you just murdered a man. So anyway, they get in there. There's a fight, of course, and he's like, the guy's got a gun. And he's like, and he ends up shooting him, like, you know where this is going. He shoots the pilot. The pilot's like, oh shit, dead. And they're spiraling. The plane stalls, and they crash into the ocean here. And I'm thinking, like, oh shit, how are they gonna get out of this? Because he's
Spec Ops.
Yeah, Spec Ops, but I'm thinking like sharks. Sharks.
No,
Miami.
sharks. Honestly, sharks are pretty good about leaving you alone, even though they might swim close to you where
Yeah.
you go to the beaches and all that. And sometimes, if you
So
ever saw a picture above somebody in a beach really close line, especially when the water's warm, especially in the summer going into fall, you will not believe how many more sharks are here than you think. And
also,
most of the time, they leave you alone.
I'm so used to planes crashing into the water and shows and movies where they explode. There's nothing left of them. So this one somehow lands, after it's basically doing a nosedive, and then it spins and does a belly flop, and then without so the back part is broken off where the tail is, and they're in there, and basically Frick says like enough of this bullshit. Basically, does a paralyzed spine tap on the guy's elbow to the guy's back, and then goes into the water, puts a life vest on him. And he opens the door, hits the inflation on the life vest, and it's immediately. Everyone's there, the Coast Guard, all stuff there.
Yeah.
It's like that was like the fastest response time for any cops or any things I've ever seen.
That's DEA, bro. They got their management facility buildings all over the place, and we're monitoring stuff real time at this point. It's almost believable, but it's for the movie, and that's what we care. That's what we care about, right?
So and that's how. And basically, he ends up going to the hospital. He's walking in. He's got flowers. Walks in and he sees the wife in there with the kid. The kid's telling him, "Hey, it's Riddle." And he's like, "It's a potato." And he says himself, and he looks over and he's like, all of a sudden he sees the kid looking and like, "Hey, Dad." He's like, "Oh shit, Matthew Bodine's in there," and they're kind of bonding because he got sick and so did the mom, even though he cured the kid with the antidote. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, he leaves the flowers on the white roses on the tray. The nurse comes in there and the wife sees the white roses, and I'm thinking at this point she would have been calling up. It's like, "Hey, you still interested in that booty call?"
No. Let's be honest. As much as my son would love to have sex, he did the right thing, and it was a moment of weakness emotionally for her, and we understand it. So I'm not knocking her, making her sound like she's trash. And honestly, the white roses, if people don't realize it, colors have meaning, or at least they used to, and so white's just more of a professional kind of thing for it. And him seeing them all together, he realized that's the natural state, and he realized he shouldn't be a part of it, so he just goes and he leaves. Nothing wrong with that in the movie.
Do you know what would have been better though? When the bad guy's like, "You can't kill me, I have the cure." He's like, "Next snap."
Yeah. Well,
as long as they don't spill any blood.
The problem with any movie when you do a sequel, they always say the rules are you got to have a higher body count. You've got to be more creative with your violence. The point is you have to do more to capture the same amount of attention as you do with what you did before. And you and I have argued this offline with professional wrestling, the amount of moves and how everybody kicks out of finishers and stuff like that. There's no build up to some singular end. And that's just the short attention span that we're in. And it's unfortunate because I know here on Extreme Movie Show, we've covered a lot of older movies, and certainly the volume of the fights doesn't seem to be as there unless you're watching older Hong Kong cinema or other films that we've covered. And you definitely see this trend. And I'm from the Yngwie Malmsteen school of more is more if you know what the hell you're doing. Like, this movie had a lot of action, and it was really, really good. It was very entertaining. I've said this before about James Bond, where James Bond is a spy. When you take the guns out of it and he's doing spy shit, that's when he's at his best. Traveling, figuring stuff out on the spur of the moment, like how to blend in with the crowd. Where here, the same similar sort of thing would be using your environment as weapons and those things. And I'm mentioning this because tomorrow night, Professor Brooks and I are going to go live to do The World Is Not Enough and talk about that as an excellent, great film.
I said, if you've not seen this film, the girl in the schoolgirl outfit is Anna Lynn McCord from Nip Tuck.
Tuck?
If you know, you know. She's the blonde. And she's she was the Eden Lord on there. She's also an American Harris. And she's been around since like the 2000s, and then she was also in 90210 reboot in 2013.
Okay, no wonder I didn't see that.
Yeah. Jason Flemyng though plays Dimitri, the guy who basically thinks he's getting infected. He's from Lock, Stock, Smoking Barrels.
Yeah, my final thoughts is this. Obviously, there's the third film, which we'll get to pretty soon, re-reviewing that. And even though there's a fourth, which nobody talks about, I still say season 1 of the 2-season TV show is good, but they changed showrunners, and that's disputable to some people. I know that. I don't know if we'll recover. It just depends on how well it does, because Transporter, at the time, RDV, I got to tell you, for you, I don't know what it was like, but for me, it was refreshing because I went through the 90s going, where's my martial arts action movies? Because they'd gone away. And then I got teased with ultimate badassery that the movie Blade is. I still say he's the best comic book movie of all time, except maybe the original Superman, of course. But you know what I mean, with action, that kind of stuff. And while like Brightburn, that was a one-off, right? Evil
Yeah.
Superman kid type thing. So to me, it's
it was a what if is Superman basically instead of
Yeah.
a kid,
Yeah.
end up going evil instead of becoming good, you know. And
The problem is you only get so many of these. And my last thought is this with Jason. I don't care if it's been 20 to 25 years since he's been doing the exact same fucking thing. The movie he had that just came out, we're going to be reviewing here shortly.
Shelter. Yeah.
We know exactly what we're going to get. I don't have a problem with it, but unfortunately, I get a little bit disappointed because while I like the mechanic and some of his things, they're very hit and miss to me as how much as I enjoy them. Because I'm not feeling the same energy, electricity, enthusiasm, and creativity in his films that he does once a year that comes out in January.
So this kind of movie kind of reminds me of a little bit when he does the hand-to-hand stuff, combat stuff. Kind of reminds me of the Roundup a little bit. With
I
Don
can see
Lee,
that.
yeah, Ray and Chuck Norris.
Yep.
So we get kind of the same kind of humor too, a little bit too. And don't worry about it. No, I'll take care of it. Yeah. So you get kind of similar humor. But as far as Jason Statham movies, he's done movies like Wild Card. He and did Killer Elite.
Yes,
it's another one. And some of those I think we might have reviewed them like 4 years ago, or maybe we haven't. I know there's quite a few we started doing.
Mm-hmm.
No, we did The Mechanic. I don't think we did Mechanic 2.
No, we did The Mechanic, which is solid. But the original with Bronson we reviewed is my god, that is so good.
Yeah. So overall, like I said, I'm more open to doing more Jason Statham movies, and honestly, I think he's a fool for not coming back to this series. You know, because the fourth one bombed because they got someone else, and it was not the same. People wanted Jason Statham. It's like a guy was just reading about. Remember on History Channel, it's called American Restoration. Or it was a History Channel, it was Discovery, whatever. And so that show was a great show, but it was all the guy who basically did it, his own business. They got tired of all the scripted bullshit. So he basically said, well, I'm done. After season 6, we're done.
Right.
And I can't do this anymore. And because even all the fans were pointing out how fake it was. They decided to replace him with 5 other garages that do all sorts of stuff. And there was no continuity, everybody pointed out, and it got canceled immediately. And that's how I feel when you put someone in a role and then you put someone in there, try to capture that magic and there's no, if it's not like a James Bond character, Frank Martin is,
his own character.
His own character. So, as I said, there are certain characters you cannot replace.
James Bond, and everybody always forgets that.
Yeah. So you put anybody into the Ethan, character, as far Ethan Hunt character after Tom Cruise, it will bomb. It's like basically like putting a nobody into his movie. Like we've seen this before, and it just never really works out. Now, the only thing I've ever seen that actually worked out well was after the Mark Wahlberg Shooter movie. They did. They put in the kid from the Antitrust in there.
The pretty boy
in there, and
it wasn't bad.
The show actually did really good. Except for the last season. Mm-hmm. But so like I said, these Jason needs to go back to this. Expendables, we're done with that. It's over with. Nobody wants it anymore. After the first 3, it got to the point where it's like he's just becoming like stupid, like Fast and Furious. We're done. You jumped the shark, and the shark said, "Fuck you, get off my back."
Well, at the time, I was so encouraged because I had mentioned before I thought there was a big shift. In part, I think Blade made everybody go, shit, we got to up our game. And then a couple years later, a movie came out, I think it was in July, and I remember telling everybody, I've told the story before when we reviewed it, the first Jason Bourne movie when it came out, because I didn't hate Matt Damon. I don't like him, but he was just one of those guys that reminded me of whose character is one of these annoying Boston kind of guys. And the kind of movies that came out in the 90s with guys being kind of whiny and talking a lot was totally different than the 80s kinds of guys at that same age and the way they portrayed it. And I didn't like that, and I still don't. But he nailed the role. I love the idea of it, and it's spy stuff. And yes, there's action in it, but it was creative and it was different. So James Bond was like, oh shit, yeah, we're really sucking. We're not giving Pierce Brosnan good movies. But that's all on the producers. It's not Pierce's fault the way the movies turned out. Then we get the transport. Like, yeah, we're going to get a turn of all these new things. Then this is when Hollywood said we're going to CGI stuff. We're going to remake The Fog and all these things. And it all sucked because they forget what makes the movie good. At the end of the day, people want to see the star.
The other movies I was saying what we could probably do would probably be The Bank Job or Death Race. Those are his other ones, yeah.
You know, that's a remake, right? David Carradine from Kung Fu was in the original one back in the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was Death Race 2000. This is they just called this Death Race in 2008. Yeah, and that was pretty good too. Then I'm trying to what else he did after that. It was kind of like in 2010 when he started doing the other ones, but
But Crank was a little different with Jason, right?
Crank, yes.
The idea of it, that was kind of fun.
Yeah,
he's good for these kind of roles.
So he was also in Mean Machine in 2002, which was with Vinnie Jones, and that was an adaptation of The Longest Yard. That was the British version. So So I've never really watched The Longest Yard. I've seen parts of it stuff, but I do like looking at like
the original one matters though.
Yeah.
He's
also the lead villain in Cellular. You know, he did
Cellular. And he had a cameo in Collateral with Tom Hanks or with Tom Hanks, with Tom Cruise when they're doing the change off and all that things. And they're just kind of like looking at it. They bump into each other. I think it's, at the beginning of the movie. Yeah. And with the briefcase, I'm like, that's cool.
Ryan Phillippe, that's what the guy's name was. Sorry. I can remember what it was. Ryan Phillippe.
Yeah. Austin, the trilogy you said is great. The fourth one, I kind of like the fourth one with the idea behind it. But it was different because it didn't have them. But they tried doing something with it. Whether you like it, it's like the Halloween trilogy they just redid. Second one's horrible. Third one's pretty bad, but I enjoyed the third one because they went 100% hardcore in their own direction.
The other movie that it could also do would be Chaos, 2005, with Leslie Snipes, and Ryan Phillippe. That was another crime. That was another crime action thriller. Yeah.
Anything else other thoughts wise?
Not much. I mean, I'm just looking at other ones. There's Parker, which I thought was really good too. Homefront. I think we already reviewed that.
We got to do some Burt Reynolds. Deficit in a while on Burt Reynolds. I'm thinking Gator.
When I'm in the mood for Gator, I'll watch I'll watch the movie with Will Ferrell. The other guys. Gator. No. But I actually said I wouldn't mind doing some the Jason Bournes. I don't think we've done those. If we have,
it's been a while.
It's been 4 years. For me, 4 years is long enough. We have new eyes on the channel. We're a little bigger. So a lot of stuff we've done back in the day was kind of half-assed, both was off cameras. Now that we're on camera stuff and we're playing around with more new technology and stuff. And we're more, especially I am more comfortable talking now, going on camera stuff. It's,
I would say it's half-assed, but it's good enough where we have enough time and space. Kind of like when you do a sequel or you redo a trilogy or like the James Bond franchise when it's going to probably be another 5 years before they make one. Sometimes you need room to breathe, and when you revisit it, you can come up with some things about that.
Other movies would love to really do is Layer Cake, Daniel Craig.
Yeah, that was a really popular one back in the day.
Yeah, so maybe we'll when we're bringing up the poll, we'll do some more Jason Statham movies you want. If you can do that, we'll have Killer Elite, Blitz, or some other ones on there too. So, but overall, though,
tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen, World is Not Enough live. Pixel and I will be doing that. He's watching him in order because he's not seen him as a young 20-something gentleman and he needs to.
Still like the first one a little bit better than this one, but this one's really good. The third one is going to be the angry Ukrainian girl, spoiled girl. He has to protect, So, and that's with the car bomb. If he's got the wrist device. He goes too far with the car, explodes.
Yeah.
So,
all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for showing up. Austin, everybody else, Maranya as usual, and everybody else listening here to the Extreme Movie Show. If you have any particular selections, let us know. We definitely like to take a look at that. We've done some birthday ones for some of our members here as well. I encourage everybody to look at our catalog, see it's quite diverse. We'll tackle anything, and we do it cold. We don't sit there and do history. We don't sit there and read stuff out. And we have different versions. I'm the 80s guy. RDV is the 90s. And Pixel is the aughts. And then, we have the occasional guest popping up here, too. But that's our claim to fame here, guys. We don't hate watch. We don't get into politics. We just kind of say what we think worked, didn't, and relate it to other stuff because there are insights that you can gain into it. And I think just talking about it, if you know people's tastes and all that, you get an idea what's particular. When people like to chime in on what they think works, it's great conversation, and that's what we're here for too. So tomorrow night we'll see you guys who join us live for The World Is Not Enough, my favorite, and actually I think an excellent James Bond movie. Spoiler alert, it's a very strong woman-centric one and much different than many other Bond movies, and it's probably the most progressive, and I would argue quite so that it's tremendous. And boy, I always say I'm gonna talk a lot of fashion tomorrow night. I just have to. It's such a beautiful, sumptuous looking show too. Hats off to Pierce Brosnan and this movie crew and all that. And then Sunday will be live to be determined at this point. And then for those of you that like you heard that earlier, or those of you who are hearing now, like RDV said, within a couple weeks here, once we finish out our Fallout TV review, we're going to go into Miami Vice season 1. Here in the United States, depending on where you're at, go find it, go look for it. There's several great HD versions out there playing. We're going to go from episode 1 to whatever the first season ends at. Depending on the popularity of that, we'll may back and revisit 2. When Pixel and I reconvene after World Is Not Enough, we'll be going probably into Colombo, and then after that, over the summer, will be Forever Night season 2, since that was pretty popular for us as well. So let us know what you have. Anything else, RDV?
Go check out Michael Bolton and the band Blackjack. It's awesome. If you've never watched it, any of their videos, it's over on YouTube right now.
He's kind of half joking, but Michael Bolton got popping every testosterone individual hated him, but they didn't think Blackjack was bad.
Michael Bolton is the original Taylor Swift.
What?
He left he could have been
talent unlike Taylor.
No, listen though. He did. Before Taylor Swift moved from country to pop, Michael Bolton moved from rock to basically doing power ballads.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and was so much more successful at that.
Cash that check, ladies and gentlemen. All right, good night now.
Later.